Hey guys, thanks for all the comments and video suggestions. They've been fantastic. One that's come up a few times is nymphing leaders and nymphing gear. So that's what I was going to run you through here today. My favorite nymph rods are 10'6" 3-weights. I feel like it's a really nice overall length, and 3-weight's probably the best weight that's going to cover you in a range of situations. So I use the Cortland line nymph rods, fantastic rods. To keep it very simple for you, there are three things you're really looking for when you're getting a nymph rod. You want a rod that has a nice soft tip. You want to be able to protect the tippet on the strike. You don't want to break them off, so that'll do that. Then you want a rod that has a bit of backbone. You don't want it to collapse on you when you're fighting fish. You want to have some good control over them, so that does that. And then overall, you want a generally nice, light and comfortable rod to fish with. That's all it is. Reels, you want something that's really reliable, light, and really suits your rod. Now, I love semi-automatic reels. This one's a JMC Yoto 30. Why do I like semi-automatic reels? When you're on the river and you hook a fish, you're barely going to fight that. You're almost never going to fight a fish on a river on the reel. If you are, well done. It's a lovely fish. So easiest way to take up slack, like that. Semi-automatic reels, fantastic. If you haven't used one or seen one, have a look. I highly recommend them. Now, you really need a nymph line if you're going to do this style of fishing. Why? Because they're light, they're thin, and they don't sag. So, for example, here's my nymph, there's my line, it's hanging here. If you were to do this with a conventional fly line, what's going to happen? The weight of the line is going to pull your fly up, and it's a nightmare to fish with. So, get yourself a nymphing line. This one here I've got is the Cortland competition level nymph, and it's a braid core line. The reason I like a braid core line is so that I can needle my leader through the fly line. The join of your leader and your fly line is going to be going in and out of your rod during casting and fishing, so you want a really nice smooth transition, and braid core lines mean you can needle super easily, get a really smooth connection. There are so many nymphing leaders, Euro nymphing leaders on the market. You can buy them commercially. There are some fantastic ones out there. I personally like to make my own, and if you look online you'll find heaps of people have leaders out there you can have a look at. So mine's going to be very similar to a lot of the modern ones you see, the really up-to-date ones. Essentially, from my fly line, I have, and I should point out, I like level leaders, or leaders that have very little taper, because if they have a taper and they're thick at the butt and then thin down, what's going to happen is they're going to sag when you fish them. So I like level ones. So here I've got 10 foot of 0.18 or 0.12, whatever you like, of chartreuse coloured monofilament. Now I do use orange as well, and I use white depending on the rivers I'm on, but essentially if you know that you need 10 foot of 0.18 or 0.12, so that's around 3x, 4x, that sort of zone of coloured fishing line. That's your base for your leader. Then I've got a clear section of 0.18mm in diameter tippet, so that's about 4x there. Clear monofilament. The join is just a double blood knot, really simple. So this clear section's here. It just helps me see my indicator during my line, during the drift. It helps me find my indicator, and then at times you can let your main indicator run under the water and use this join as your secondary indicator. So that's that. Then after that clear section, I've just got 40 centimeters of colored monofilament as my indicator. Very, very simple. You can use bicolor. There's lots of great bicolor out there. I do like this green, just single color one. You can use any color, pink, orange, yellow, green, all the bicolors out there. They're all really good. So I have 40 centimeters of this and 0.18mm in diameter for that as well. Then a tippet ring. Very simple. So to run through that again, because you may have forgotten it or may have not written that down, we've got 10 foot of coloured monofilament in 0.18mm in diameter or 0.20mm in diameter. We then have 50 centimeters of clear monofilament in 0.18mm in diameter, and then we have our indicator that is 40 centimeters of 0.18mm in diameter tippet fishing line, and then a tippet ring, 2mm tippet ring. So finally the tippet, well, flies are next, but tippet. Pretty much when we're nymphing, we want to be trying to fish fine tippets, because finer tippet has a thinner diameter, and it means it's going to get grabbed less by the current. It's going to get our flies deeper quicker and ultimately get a better drift. So 6 and 7x tippets, perfect. Fluorocarbon's what I like to use. I find them quicker to tie knots with, there's less abrasion, just really easy. Now, doing the leader length, it's going to be hard for me to explain that here, but for most of the water I'm fishing here in Australia, or we're fishing between, you know, shin deep water to waist deep water. So these are my tippet lengths for that. If you go into deeper water, chest deep water, obviously you're just going to have to lengthen it. So when I fish a single nymph like I've got rigged up here, I like about 1 meter to 4 foot of tippet, straight off the tippet ring to a single fly. Find myself fishing a single nymph a lot, gives you a great drift, great control, great take detection. So 4 foot, pretty nice general length there for me. If I'm fishing 2 nymphs, this is where it gets a bit hard because it's different for every piece of water you come to. A good starting point is probably 70 centimeters or 60 centimeters to your top fly, and then another 60 centimeters to your second fly. You want those 2 flies, well, I like them to be between 50 to 60 centimeters apart. And I always like my top dropper, or my top fly, to be tied off a dropper. I don't want those 2 flies in the same line. I want the dropper to be able to fish freely, and then that allows me to change my fly as I wish. Everyone loves flies, so here are my thoughts on what you need when you're out on the river. Essentially, keep it really simple. You want to make sure you have a range of bead colors there and bead sizes, 2.5, 3, 3.5 at a minimum. That's just a whole page of pheasant tails there. Pheasant tails and hare's ears are essentially all you really need. So pheasant tails are your slim fly option. Then on this side, I've got some caddis at the top and some hare's ears and tag nymphs through there. Again, range of bead sizes and bead colors. Essentially, if you went out there only armed with pheasant tails and hare's ears, you're going to catch a lot of fish and you'll do really well. So keep it simple. It's more about the drift than the fly. I hope that was helpful for you guys. It's hard when we're in self-isolation not being able to get out on the river and show you this stuff in practice, but hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea of what I use and why I use it. And yeah, give it a go. I mean, there's so much information out about it out there. So have a look online, read some articles, and what's going to be best for you is not necessarily what I use or anyone else uses. It's going to be what's best for you. So find what you like fishing and you do really well with it.